Hey everyone. Black Friday after Thanksgiving, 11/26. Nick here. So this is my third time re-recording this video. It comes out to be too long every time. I'm only trying to make one point. I'm using Zoom to make a point, and I keep getting sidetracked and going, trying to cover everything else. Okay, so members and chat room members, I will do a video on that one separately, but this one I'm going to refocus on only one point, which is if I have a trade that was in trouble and then I get a magic pop that gets me out of trouble, I should take advantage of it and get out. Not because I don't believe in the trade, because if I was against the time clock, like if I was using options, like a credit put spread, for example, that was all in the money and then suddenly, boom, out of nowhere, miracle pop, 10% in a minute, I should take it off the table and reset the risk in a way that makes more sense. Less likely to get back into trouble. Okay, so that's the message. So let me show you what happened. So if somebody took a bet on Zoom's earnings and then they got caught, and then just hours later this happens, one giant pop of 10%, I would, in my opinion, I would get out. I do like the stock long term. I said so at the bottom. I said the reaction was wrong. If I'm not long, I would consider getting long a little bit at least. And I shared how. My favorite would have been to sell puts or put spreads and then add the calls later, or a call spread, not to buy naked calls. So, but nevertheless, I think they're still growing well. People had unrealistic expectations from the earnings. I don't know what they were looking for, but the company is growing on top of really strong numbers. So, hey, today's headlines made it so it popped. So if I look at a 15-minute candle, so the first 15 minutes, the stock was at $236. Okay, it closed a lot lower, still up 7%, considerable. But when it goes from 208 to 236 in 15 minutes, basically as soon as it opens, thank you, Lord, out I go. I will reset the trade somewhere else, even if it's just later in the day. You would have caught a benefit of $10. So I'm just saying, it's not like, oh yeah, it's easy to say at hindsight. That's what happens all the time. You should expect it next time. So that's the lesson. Next time, expect a pop. It hits resistance. Where do I know the resistance? Well, track my charts or just look left. If this was a crash scene, it's resistance until it's taken out. You're saying it was a fluke. Let's go to Teladoc. Boom, same thing. One giant pop that faded. Where did it hit resistance? The accident scene. For Teladoc, it had two headlines on dilutions of 300 million, blah, blah, blah. I think it was them, right? Anyway, so they hit the levels from that. Faded. That's a company I also like long term. So the behavior is the same. PayPal popped and faded. So I can't remember. Oh, Moderna. Please don't make me out to be a liar. There we go. Popped and faded. So you're saying it didn't fade that much. $20. Wouldn't you have liked to have $20 in your pocket right now? So if I closed my trade at up here and then reopened down here, would have been smart? Yes. And oh, look at my point. Look left. Giant accident scene. Gets back to it, fades. So now let's go to 30 minutes so we have a bigger window. Here, giant accident scene. So now the fade, if they hold support, they can come back, take this out. That'll be an inverse head and shoulders and finish the job higher. So you're saying, so what's the difference? I'm saying, what if it doesn't hold support and it comes back to here? You never know. The proper thing for me to do when I get a gift like this, in fact, somebody in the chat room today jumped in. Who was it? Was it Lloyd or Thomas? Somebody in the chat room said, I had a Moderna credit put spread. This pop gets me out of so much trouble. Up 20% at the close. Up here it was higher. I said, I sure hope you closed it. He says, yep, I paid 7 cents or 3 cents to close it. I learned from you to close cheap risk. So there you go. That's the proper thing to do. He did the right thing. All right, so this is not hindsight. This is a lesson to learn for foresight next time. If I'm in trouble, I get a miracle pop, I should take it. So this video started about Zoom, but it applies to any stock where we get a miracle pop like this one. All right, so as for what's going on in the world, if you want bonus content, so the S&P, my assumption stays the same. Bulls in charge, they're buying dips. Until that changes, I don't change my opinion. Now, I usually, if you know me, I say ignore the headlines, they don't matter. Well, two things on that. Number one, don't ignore the COVID headlines if you're managing your family's health. Those, you need to know what the hell is going on with the virus in order to make the right decision to stay safe. My comments on ignore the headlines go towards stocks. And you can ignore the virus headlines, but you cannot ignore the lockdown talks, because that's a headline that actually will matter, because it actually changes the income statement. That's always been my beef. What Powell had for lunch during the Fed minutes doesn't care, jokingly, but it doesn't matter. But what if you tell me that the businesses are going to be shut down in the whole world? That does matter, because that actually changes the income statement of those businesses. So talks of lockdowns, they need to not happen. Otherwise, we could have another day or two of this. Actual lockdowns most certainly need not happen for the stocks to be able to find footing. I'll leave you with that broad statement, meaning don't get bogged down with the virus talks to trade stocks, but keep your eye on lockdown talks. If the U.S., I haven't heard anything. I live in Chicken, California, so they lock down. They're like quick to do whatever, right? In the safety of anyway, they're not brave and stay. They're not one of those states that stays open all the time. Okay, how about that? I don't want to upset anybody. It is such a sensitive subject. But anyway, I haven't heard any rumblings of it. But if the talks come up and gain steam, then the businesses are going to suffer, and Wall Street immediately price the fears into that. That's why we saw the small caps drop 6% overnight almost. That is huge. 10% is a full-blown correction, which, by the way, from the high to yesterday's low, it was 10% for the small caps. And that's a basket of 3,000 stocks. So it was a legit bad day. We haven't had many of these. Look back. We haven't had many of these. This was a legit bad day right there, right? And this was a legit bad day. And the IWM, let me see how that looks. Whew, man, that's painful. Look at it. Whoosh. But it's hitting support. Now that's very annoying to me if you know me, because we have a weekly breakout going on, and I said it's okay if Ethan drops to 222, and it's like a stick in the eye of Nick. It's at 222 right now. So okay, the breakout is still ongoing, but that's a setback that did not need to happen. But hey, we can't help that we found a new strain, and everybody is emotionally involved, as they should be. It's a serious disease. So until we see lockdown talks, I think the stocks can survive this, and we will have the repeat of buying the dip and setting new highs. That's personal opinion. Remains to be seen, of course.